Then we're going to take the first two numbers, 2 and 4, and subtract those in the denominator. So what's 5? Subtraction is dead, right?
Yeah.
So I add the opposite. Add the opposite. So what's 5 plus negative 7? Negative 2. Jaden? P2 minus R2? Yes. But I just didn't label it because we're trying to go a little bit faster. Okay. So 2 plus negative 4 is? Negative 2. So what's negative 2 divided by negative 2? 1. Okay. So they not only want us to find it for one pair of points, we have to verify it for 3 different pairs. So I'm going to choose the next point, which is the second one, 4 and 7, and then the third one, 5 and 8.
Why would that be 4, 7, 5, 8?
I got that from the table right here. Well, you have to have 3 pairs, 3 different pairs.
Why you ain't do 5? Oh, okay, now I know.
Okay. So I'm going to take the second numbers, and I have to subtract those in the numerator. So it'll be 7 minus 8. Then the top first 2 numbers are on the bottom, like 4 minus 5. Subtraction is dead, so I have to add the opposite. Add the opposite. So what is 7 plus negative 8? Negative 1. What's 4 plus negative 5? What's negative 1 divided by negative 1? So I get a 1. So that's my second pair. Now I have to write my third pair. That's why we're going faster and not labeling it. So it's 5 and 8 and 8 and 11. So I'm going to take the second 2 numbers, 8 minus 11, and then on the bottom I take the difference of the first 2 numbers, 5 minus 8. Subtraction is dead, so I have to add the opposite. And so I get negative 3 over negative 3. What's negative 3 divided by negative 3? 1. So do you see how we got 1 3 times? So that means this table is a function.
That's all we do, okay?
No. This is only the first step. Calm down.
Well, this one easy.
Okay, so that's what we're doing for these 2 right here. Okay. So now I'm going to take these first 2 ordered pairs, like 2, 4, and 3, 9. So we take the second 2 numbers and subtract those in the numerator. 4 minus 9 over 2 minus 3. Like, that was the first 2 numbers on the bottom. See, 2 minus 3? And the second 2 numbers go on the top. Because it's the difference of the y values over the x values. So subtraction is dead. So we have to add the opposite. So 4 plus negative 9. And then 2 plus negative 3. So negative 5 divided by negative 1. 5. So the second and third point is 3, 9, 4, and 16. So I'm going to take the second 2 numbers and subtract those in the numerator. And then the first 2 numbers and subtract those in the denominator. And subtraction is dead. So I add the opposite. So what's 9 plus negative 16? And then 3 plus negative 4? And negative 7 divided by negative 1? So if I got a 5 and a 7, is that the same thing? No. So we would say not a function. Yes. So if we take the first 2 ordered pairs, like 0, negative 3, 1, and 1, we're going to subtract the second numbers, like negative 3 minus 1, and then on the bottom, the first number, 0 minus 1. Subtraction is dead, so you add the opposite. So negative 3 plus a negative 1 is negative 4, and 0 plus negative 1 is And negative 4 divided by negative 1. So now we're going to take the second and third ordered pair. So in the numerator, we're going to subtract the second numbers, 1 minus 6. Denominator, we're going to subtract the first two numbers, 1 minus 2. So we have to add the opposite. So what's 1 plus negative 6? And then what's 1 plus negative 2? 5. Negative 5 divided by negative 1 is 5. So 4 and 5, is it a function? No. So we're going to put not a function. Any pineapples? Okay. So there's only one problem in this lesson. And it's only A, B, C, D. Okay? The first part we just did 3 times. So we're going to do the same thing, just with this first ordered pair is 1, 2, and then 2, negative 1. So we take the second two numbers and subtract those in the numerator. Then we take the first set of numbers and subtract those in the denominator. We're going to add the opposite because subtraction is dead. So what's 2 plus negative 1? I'm sorry, 2 plus positive 1 because we changed it. I apologize. So it'd be 3. 2 plus a 1. Yes, because you add the opposite. And then 1 plus negative 2 is? And then 3 divided by negative 1? Yes, negative 3. So now we're going to take the second and third ordered pair. In the numerator, we need to subtract the second two numbers. And then the denominator, we subtract the first two numbers. So subtraction is dead, so we're going to add the opposite. Add the opposite. What's negative 1 plus 7?
6.
And then 2 plus a negative 4? 6 divided by negative 2? All right. So then we're going to go to the third point and the fourth point. So in the numerator, we take the second set of numbers and subtract those. So it'd be negative 7 minus negative 13. And the denominator, we subtract the first set of numbers, 4 minus 6. Subtraction is dead, so you add the opposite. Add the opposite. So what's negative 7 plus 13? 6. And then 4 plus negative 6? And then 6 divided by negative 2. Good. So now, what is negative 3? If we had to write an equation, what letter is represented by negative 3? The slope. What letter is the slope? M. Okay. What are these right here? What is each of these? Those are X and Y, right? Like an ordered pair. We're going to use these ordered pairs, the X and Y's, and this slope to write the equation. Our equation is Y equals mx plus b. So we're going to take one of the ordered pairs from the table, there's 4 of them, and we're going to write it in the place of X and B. So, Hayden, can you pick an ordered pair from the table and just tell me which one you want?
First one.
Okay, so 1 and 2. So the 1 is the X, and the 2 is going to be the Y. So in the place of the Y right here, I'm going to put a 2. What did I get for the M? Negative 3. And then what do I have for the X? Hayden? Yes. So what am I going to be looking for? The B. I don't know what that is. So I have a 2. What's a negative 3 times a 1?
-3.
Negative 3, because it's times. And then you have plus b. Well, how do you get the b by itself? Well, it's negative 3 plus b. So I have to subtract a negative 3. Subtracting a negative 3 is really like the opposite, which is plus 3.
So just 2 equals b plus 3.
So this plus 3 minus 3, that's your 0. So you left over with a b on this side, right?
Yeah.
And then 2 plus 3 is? So my b is equal to 5. So if I want to write my equation,
It's 2.
I'm going to put y equals what number x plus what number?
Y equals -3 plus 5.
Very good. So that's the equation. So now they want me to verify that I got the equation right.
Oh.
So I'm just going to write it right here. And they want me to verify for these 4 inputs. So for this one, x will be 1. And then I'll do for this one. And x will be a 2. Where am I putting the parentheses at?
Where b should be.
Where x is going to go. Like where the x was, right? Because they want me to put in these numbers to see if it works. So this should have been a 1. So what's a negative 3 times a 1? And then negative 3 plus 5. So y is equal to 2. Right here, they said x is going to be a 2. So what's negative 3 times 2? Negative 6. Negative 6 plus 5. So y is equal to negative 1. Right here, they want x to be 4. So what's negative 3 times 4? And then negative 12 plus 5.
-7.
And then right here, x is going to be 6. So what's negative 3 times 6? Negative 18 plus 5.
-13.
So if you look at your table, these are all of your ordered pairs. 1, 2, 2, negative 1, 4, negative 7, and 6, negative 13. So this is how we verified that this equation is true. It's correct.
Okay.
So it says in the last part, what will the graph of the function look like? And explain. So would we consider this a linear function?
Yeah.
Yes. Why? Because what were we able to do? Okay, what were we able to do in part B?
Make an equation.
Right. So the graph of the function will be linear because we can write a linear equation. So that's how you know it's going to be a line or linear. Any questions?
Not at all.
Okay, so your homework is on page S43 and it's number 1 through 6.
Okay, take it.
You can sign it.